Hello and welcome to where it all begins, the premier round of the 2014 MXGP World Championship, where the riders will take to the gates for the very first time and the battle will commence. And where better to host the highly anticipated opening Grand Prix than here under the dramatic floodlights of Qatar. Coming up on today's programme, we'll be cruising around the Qatar Corniche with some of the big names for 2014. We'll catch up with Jeffrey Hurlings to see if the champ is ready to defend his title against the MX2 Hordes. And HRC are back in force with a new team setup for 2014.
There are some movers and shakers in the MXGP class. Suzuki stay as they are with Losail and Strybos. Honda have full backing from Japan for this year, and Bobrashev and Nagel are back once again to defend their colours. Jeremy Van Hoorbeek takes on the challenge of returning Yamaha to form on the YZ450F. Back for more on the number 21 Kawasaki is Gautier Paulin, while Aussie prospect Todd Waters makes his debut for Red Bull Ice One Husqvarna Factory Racing. The 183 of Frossard moves to the Big Green Machine for 2014 alongside Paulin, while Philip Hart goes it alone in his own Yamaha-backed team. And they're all trying to beat this man, Tony Cairoli, and he may be vulnerable as he starts his year with an ankle injury from pre-season training.
I'm not expecting too much from these races. For sure I will do, if I feel very good and I feel safe, I will do my best to win. But you know, it's just the beginning, and I never start with the injury. I mean, let's say one season. So we will see. My goal is to be on the podium at least, and trying to be there for the win.
Tommy Searle stays with CLS Monster Energy Kawasaki, and this year he's got more control over his destiny as Davide Guarneri joins Tano Leok on the totally revamped TM. Last but not least, the 2008 MX2 World Champion Tyler Rattray returns to the fray on the brand new 350 Husqvarna.
There's been a lot of bike and rider changes to get our heads around, but most importantly, we're entering the era of MXGP.
Hello to everybody.
First up, Giuseppe Longo, the Youth Stream president, welcomed the paddock to Qatar on Thursday evening and gave notice that the August date for the GP of the Ukraine is on hold for 2 months due to the political situation. We'll keep you updated with that as the year rolls on. There was a political situation of another sort for Honda as the new look team HRC was presented to the media. Headed by team principal Keisuke Inamoto, the Big H is really looking to make waves this year in both classes. Coming up next, we've got one of our old faces, Gautier Paulin, doing our GoPro onboard lap with returnee Tyler Rattray.
I'm Gautier Paulin, racing for Monster Energy Kawasaki Racing Team.
I'm Tyler Rattray, riding for Ice One Husqvarna Racing.
So let's take a quick look then around this circuit. Here's our GoPro track preview of the Losail circuit in Qatar. A long start straight into a very wide sweeping left-hand turn through a couple of single rollers that automatically push you out to the right-hand side, set you up for turn 2. The right-hander immediately we're into the wave section through the turn, about 91 meters long through there. Then we end up at turn 3. 180-degree left-hand turn, and get pretty soft through there, and also it's pretty tight over a single. It's an off-camber jump there as well. And then eventually we end up going through a right over a big step down into this tight right-hander, again over a small single, and then into another right-hander. Over the Ippon jump, into the left, off camber through there from left to right, so falling high side to low. A single on the way out into this right-hander. Jordi Tixier fell through there last year in one of the races. Over a big tabletop jump into this right-hand turn here. You see how rutted and hard packed it is in different places as well. Through this left. Probably one of the longest left-hand turns on the racetrack. As you hook through the gears, through the single, and then over a huge step up. There's quite a stretch on the 250 machines. Hard on the brakes at the end of the straight, through that right-hander, over a tabletop, and then into the very slow, tight right-hander. We're about 3 corners from the finish line here at this point. Over the single, through the next left, over Scrub Hill, and then over the quad jump. Some guys taking it as 4, some taking it as a 3 and a 1. So this is the Monster Energy finish line jump then. Pretty big stretch through there, and then as they ride through the next part, that used to be 2 singles coming into this right-hand turn, but the rider's able to double that this time around. Through the tight right, over another single, exit the next left, past pit lane, and into the final turn in terms of the lap proper. We exit there, it's a short burst, and we're back onto the start straight. That completes the lap here in Losail.
Ready.
For a lot of MXGP riders, the trip to Qatar is a rare chance to get in touch with a totally different cultural vibe. And a boat trip around the Corniche was a moment of calm before the storm. And the calmest was probably new Aussie recruit Todd Waters.
I'm loving the weather. It's beautiful sunshine, the water's nice, we're hanging out on a boat, so it's a bit more of a relaxed environment, which I prefer. This is what Australia's like, you know, we're pretty chilled, and I've had a great pre-season. So we've had 4 international races, and it's been good for me because it's sort of taken that edge off this weekend. It's my 5th race now back to back, so it's just another race, and I just prepare and do the same thing as what I've been doing.
I feel exciting, you know. I mean, it's always good to go over the border, you know, and to arrive here in Qatar. You know, it's good for our sport. It's all new, you know. So, and there is like the paddock. It's like I don't know. There is an atmosphere so calm, you know, because we are into the MotoGP box, and it's all good, you know. We were training all the winter, arriving at the first GP in Qatar, and won a race. Really won a race.
Yeah, my shoulder is good now, and after the MX of Nations it was not so easy. I had 3 months off of the bike, and you know, I'm not so difficult with that. I get back my feeling really fast, and I don't especially want to be perfect 100% in the beginning of the race because of the season. I mean, because the season is really long, so it's some time, and just want to be regular and to have the best result I can have.
In MX2, Christophe Charlier is looking to step it up, but he knows that it won't be easy this year. The thing for me is to get a top 3 this season. It would be great before next year when I have to move up to the 450. But of course, we have Jeffrey, also Jordi, and the improving Romain Fevre. They're all good riders, but I think I can put up a good fight, but I hope I can do as many podiums as possible and also be consistent. For all the riders, the long winter's waiting is almost over.
It's the moment we've all been waiting for. It's the first MXGP race.
Kevin Strybos won the first qualifying race of the year ahead of Gauthier Paulin, Evgeny Bobryshev, Stephen Frossard and Davide Guarnieri, with Cairoli down in 7th. When the gate dropped for MXGP race 1, all eyes were focused on the front of the field and who would grab that all-important Fox head hole shot, and it was Kevin Strybos, number 22 on the Rockstar Energy Suzuki. Behind him were the Hondas of Max Nagel and Evgeny Bobryshev, but he was dropping down the order, suffering through pain from a sore ankle. Tony Cairoli was queuing up behind him, so too Gauthier Paulin, Stephen Frossard and Xavier Borg. Tony Cairoli started to charge his way through the field as best as he could, but he was making slow progress, unlike Max Nagel, who found a way to close in onto the back of the Suzuki and then eventually found a way through to the lead. Max Nagel then led from lap 3, and Tony Cairoli found a way through the following lap with that pass on Kevin Strybos, pushing the Belgian back into 3rd place. From around about lap 7, Tony Cairoli and Gauthier Paulin then fought over 2nd position. The Kawasaki doing all he could to try and stay ahead of the 222 defending champion on the Red Bull KTM factory racing machine. Despite his efforts, though, Tony Cairoli was hounding the Frenchman, number 21 Paulin, and was desperately looking for a way through, knowing that Max Nagel was disappearing at the head of the field. And with 3 laps to go, Cairoli seized his opportunity. He swung wide and squared off the Frenchman and moved neatly into 2nd place. Max Nagel, though, was disappearing at the head of the field, whereas Stephen Frossard was having a great ride in 4th place. So both the Kawasaki's well placed. Jeremy Van Hoorbeek was also well placed in 5th place on his new Yamaha factory machine. But what a ride for Max Nagel. He led from lap 3 and was relatively unchallenged. Tony Cairoli might have been closing in the final stages of the race, but Max Nagel of Germany and HRC Racing eventually came home to take his first race win since 2011. The calm before the storm as the MXGP riders lined up behind the gates in anticipation of race 2. And when the gate dropped, it was Mattis Caro on the Wilvo Forkbrent KTM number 91 who stole the Fox Head whole shot. Wasn't long though before the 21 and the 183 of Paulin and Frossard were out front again, and they challenged for a couple of laps, pretty close as well, side by side, wheel to wheel, before eventually Paulin found a way through past on his teammate Stephen Frossard. So it's a Kawasaki 1-2 in the early stages, as Tony Cairoli was in 3rd. Behind him was Max Nagel, of course the winner from Moto number 1. Van Hoorbeek was down in 5th, with Bobryshev, the 2nd of the Honda riders, in 6th ahead of Caro. Well, the hard, slick conditions many people thought would favour Antonio Cairoli, but he was struggling just to get onto the rear wheels of the Monster Energy Kawasaki's of Paulin and Frossard. Clement Losail was having a slightly better time of it with a good start in this 2nd race, but could only get himself as high as 6th before the checkered flag fell. Gauthier Paulin, one of not too many riders actually jumping the big quad jump before the finish line, and that was giving him enough distance to stay ahead of his teammate Frossard throughout the duration of the race. And it really was like watching these two on a training day ride. They were absolutely wheel perfect. Bad luck for Davide Guarnieri on the factory TM. He pushed his machine back on lap 7 after sitting there in 11th position. But Kevin Strybos, after a pre-season injury to his pelvis, was pushing on. A little bit too hard actually, because they ended up pushing Mattis Caro out of the way, who was in 9th place. Obviously Caro went down, Strybos went on to finish in 8th. But Antonio Cairoli, despite all of his efforts, couldn't catch the 2 Kawasaki's and had his hands full in the closing stages of Max Nagel in that 4th position. Tommy Searle was having a quiet Grand Prix. He had to have 7th in the 2nd moto for what was a very quiet weekend for him. But Gauthier Paulin was in a class of his own and was inch perfect. And it was a very impressive opening Grand Prix for the Frenchman Paulin. He went on to take the checkered flag ahead of his teammate Frossard. Cairoli was 3rd, Nagel was 4th, and your overall podium looked like this: Paulin, Nagel and Cairoli, with Frossard 4th overall, Van Hoorbeek 5th, Tommy Searle 6th, Losail 7th and Kevin Strybos 8th. But the MXGP of Qatar belonged to Kawasaki's Gauthier Paulin, and as we head to Thailand in a week's time, he goes there as the championship leader. For 2014, the WMX riders are back on the calendar alongside the MXGP boys, and the first of 6 rounds kicked off here in Qatar. Australia's Megan Rutledge on the 66 set the pace from the very first lap, topping the timing sheets in every session. And she was bang on the money in the races as well, storming to a 13-second victory in race 1 from Natalie Kane and Nancy van der Ven before following it up with another win in race 2.
Megan, you are the first women's round winner of 2014. Tell me how it all went for you today.
Yeah, the racing itself went really smoothly. I got 2 whole shots and 2 wins. I can't say my preparation coming into it was as good as that. As most people know now, I've been off the bike for a while due to a broken ankle, and technically I'm still meant to be off the bike, but my physio did what he could to get me back on, and well, huge thanks to him because I managed to do it.
Now it's MX2 time, and the new boys Wilbo-Nastan Husqvarna Factory Racing are represented by Roman Fevre and the hot-headed Russian Alexander Tonkov. Honda's MX2 effort comes in the shape of Tim Geiser from Slovenia and newcomer Kei Yamamoto, both riding for Honda Garibaldi. Red Bull KTM retain their 2 riders from 2013. The first of those is the 911 of Jordi Tixier. And Yamaha Factory Racing have got the services of Christophe Charlier for 1 more season. And he'll be looking for more while everyone is out to beat the 2-time champion, Jeffrey Hurlings. Suzuki will be hoping for more, and that it will come in the shape of the other Dutch hope, Glenn Coldenhoff. And the wild card could be the 3rd place finisher from the 2013 championship, Jose Boutron on the Silver Action KTM.
Jordi, winter is really a pretty long time, but it goes so fast. What have you been up to?
For me, the season, the winter went pretty good. We went to Spain with the team, and normally we have to go back after 10 days, but I got really sick. Then I stay home lying on a bed. But after that, I went to Belgium, everything being good. I feel good on the track, on the bike, so happy to be in Qatar for the 2014 season.
Absolutely, and you finished 2nd in the World Championship last year. That's no small achievement, but is it enough for you?
For sure it's not enough, but it's already a really big improvement for me, because when I was a kid, it was a dream to ride in the front of the GP rider World Championship, and I did it last year. I finished 2nd of the World Championship, was just already pretty good, but for sure it's not enough. I want to be a world champion one day in my life.
Now you know the setup, the tracks, do you think you'll be making more of an impact in these first couple of rounds?
Last year was really not good. The first GP had too much pressure on my shoulder, was only myself. And for sure now I know the track. I know that if I'm not starting good the season, I can still be at the top at the end of the World Championship. So we will see what happens. I just will give my best, enjoy the track and have fun over there.
We've spoken to our number 2. We're now going to speak to our number 1. And I don't think I'll be needing these sunglasses anymore. Hello.
Hello.
Are you ready?
Well, you know, I've been injured for a really long time. I've been injured for almost 6 months. So I had some different goals for this year. You know, I've only been riding on the bike for the last 3 weeks, so I'm not 100%.
I know you dislocated your shoulder at the end of last season. What happened with the leg? Because there's lots of stories about that.
You know, I really like running for some reason. I run so much, and then I got a small fracture in a bone in my leg, and it didn't want to heal and didn't want to heal, and it took such a long time. And at one point the doctor, you know, said, hey, you have to take 3 weeks off, and that's what I did. Started riding again, still not healed. Went back to the doctor, he gave me another 4 weeks, and then finally I was healed.
It's no secret that you are not the best of listening to advice. And when people tell you don't get on the bike, relax, you've still got that passion to stay on the bike. But do you think that's what makes you better than the rest of the field?
I mean, I'm really passionate about racing. You know, I really would like to win, and I'm racing just for one goal, and that's winning. And I have to stay calm a little bit this year and try to not make big crashes like I did last year, and I have to be smart, and then hopefully the 3rd title will come.
Jeffrey Hurlings won the first qualifying race of the season from Dylan Ferrandis and Arnold Tonus, with Glenn Coldenhoff in 4th. And there was drama when the gate dropped, because as everybody went round the first turn, they were chasing the number 17 of Jose Boutron, but Arnold Tonus got took out at the back, and also took Jeffrey Hurlings with him, who did manage to stay on the bike. And as we look at it from the reverse angle, you just see over there on the left the carnage, and Hurlings just managing to hold on. That pushed him down to around about 18th on the opening lap as Dylan Ferrandis tried to argy-barge his way through to the front of the field, chasing Max Anstey on the bike at Cosworth Yamaha in blue on the number 99 Yamaha. Anstey made this pass around the outside of Boutron, the number 17 Spaniard, to take over the lead. He did that on lap 3. Meanwhile, Hurlings found his way past the stricken number 33 Julian Lieber, who fell from 4th as Hurlings charged his way through the field. The factory Husqvarnas of the number 59, Alexander Tonkov and Roman Fevre were well placed early on and pretty much followed each other through, and they were battling over 5th and 6th for much of the race in the midpoint. But the 461 of Roman Fevre, who was on the podium here last year, obviously was having some kind of affinity with this place because he was pushing hard and making progress. Boutron was under attack in that battle for 3rd place, first of all from the number 122 Dylan Ferrandis on the CLS Kawasaki Monster Energy machine, and behind him 259 Glenn Koldenhoff on the Rockstar Energy Suzuki Europe machine. Boutron was hanging on for grim life, but as you can see, he was being pushed hard all the way. Eventually, Koldenhoff thought he found a way around the outside, but he would have to wait another 3 or 4 laps before eventually finding a way through on the Spaniard. But while that was happening, all the while, behind them and pushing on hard, out of nowhere came the 84 Red Bull KTM of Jeffrey Hurlings, and it was suddenly a 3-way battle for the lead as Max Anstey went out with about 4 laps to go. Kawasaki were urging on Dylan Ferrandis, who was going after his first ever win in MX2. And he went on to win the race as well by the narrowest of margins from Hurlings. In the second race, it was going to be a case of could Ferrandis go and do the repeat, but Jeffrey Hurlings once again beaten up by the Kawasaki's going down a start straight into that first turn and came out down in around about 10th place on that opening lap. Boutron was the fast starting Spaniard once again, picking up another whole shot award, and Max Anstey found himself in 2nd place. And by the end of the lap, the young Brit was through into the lead. Thomas Covington, the Monster Energy Kawasaki rider, the young 17-year-old from Alabama in the USA, was well placed in 4th position. And he was making his MX2 debut here this weekend in Qatar. He didn't finish the first race. Roman Fevre on the Wilbona Star and Husqvarna had that lucky escape, and his teammate was coming under the cosh from the 64 of Thomas Covington, who'd moved past the Russian and then went after the Spaniard. This pass put him into 2nd position, and he started to go after Max Anstey. Well, as everybody queued up behind Jose Boutron, Jeffrey Hurlings was on the charge on the number 84 Red Bull factory racing machine, sidling his way from out of nowhere to find a way past Lieber and Fevre and Charlier, and he was going after Dylan Ferrandis just ahead of him. He eventually caught up to the number 64 of Thomas Covington, but not without a fight. Max Anstey, number 99, on the bike at Cosworth Yamaha, looks set to take his first MX2 victory as the Spaniard Boutron sampled the dirt, getting a little bit too close to the rear wheel of Covington. Another scary moment for the 61 of Roman Fevre, looked the wrong side as Tonus went through, and Tonus then found himself in 3rd place. Max Anstey, with about 4 laps to go, suddenly found himself in a deja vu moment. He stalled that Yamaha, and that would eventually drop him down into 7th, handing the lead to Jeffrey Hurlings, who'd just found a way past Arnold Tonus and Thomas Covington. So suddenly then, everything coming good for Jeffrey Hurlings in his 2nd race in the closing stages. But with a lap to go, he found himself under pressure from the number 200 of Tonus on that CLS Monster Energy Kawasaki. For the next half a lap, Hurlings was having to ride his luck a little bit, but he managed to round out the final turn and hang on to take victory by the narrowest of margins. Tonus was 2nd, Covington was 3rd, and your overall Grand Prix result was Hurlings, Ferrandis and Fevre, with Tonus and Tonkov rounding out the top 5. But another victorious Grand Prix for Jeffrey Hurlings here in Qatar, and just like he did 12 months ago, picks up the red plate and heads to Thailand in a week's time as the championship leader. So everything so far so good for the defending champion.
Well, there we have it. We have our first 2 GP winners of 2014, Jeffrey Hurlings in MX2 and Gautier Paulin in MXGP. We'll see you next week in Thailand.